चंदा रे कभी तो समीप पर आ
Ting tada ding tada ding tada ding tong tadan tong tong tada tong tong tan 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 tan.
Vennilave Vennilave vinnai taandi varuvaya.
Each tune would take a month or so to get done.
Awara bhavre jo hale hale gaye.
For lyric writers with great egos who were like saying that, listen, we have to do it together. He was able to make his songs survive beyond his films.
Tracking milestones of an incredible journey spanning 30 years. Rahman Music Sheets. Hi friends, how about finding a top take? A wow factor in this episode. Do watch it till the end to grab this harmonic moment of the day.
Hey, do you want to hear this?
It's nice. You want to add something more?
AR Rahman and Rajiv Menon collaborated for many iconic advertising films. Cinematographer Rajiv also shot feature films that had music by Rahman. In episodes 77 to 80 of Rahman Music Sheets, Rajiv Menon details them. Link to this playlist is given in the description. We now move on to films that Rajiv Menon directed. AVM, the iconic production house that launched mega stars like Sivaji Ganesan and Kamal Haasan, decided to make Minsara Kanavu for its 50th anniversary celebrations. Partially inspired by 1965 American musical Sound of Music. The film had music as its USP, so Rahman became an obvious choice. Kajol's debut film in Tamil. Minsara Kanavu is also the first feature film directed by Rajiv Menon.
Years later, I mean, when you see something like La La Land succeed, and there's a famous meme of the La La Land dance with Chanda Re Chanda tune put on it, and it just synchronizes absolutely perfectly, the dance with that.
तुझको आते इधर लाज आए अगर ओढ़ के आजा तू बादल घने.
We were actually trying a lot of the Broadway musical ideas way before it was done, in whether it's Strawberry Kanne.
Strawberry Kanne, Vinveli Penne.
Whether it was Ooh La La La. Or whether it was Chanda Re Chanda.
चंदा रे कभी तो समीप पर आ.
Most of these situations were inspired by what I had seen in Barber of Seville as a musical opera. We had seen Sing American in Paris, the video. So Gene Kelly's dance. So a lot of these ideas which were there in Hollywood Broadway musicals, Hollywood musicals, we wanted to bring that into film, and that's what we did. We had seen Sound of Music together a couple of times. So this nun and all this singing in the fields and all that. So it is a film which is virtually shot completely in the studio, like the old studio setup. And there are very few places that you go out of the studio. And it's some kind of a fantasy, space. And the music was really remarkable. He won his second national award for that. The idea of creating an album which had all different kinds of songs, it was complete musically, was again something we were looking at. And we were looking for a much more youthful, much more aggressive kind of a tune. So, And all the songs have sort of remained chartbusters even now. And it has that little bit of that music group which is trying to succeed inside it. And that element from Sound of Music of a nun wanting to come into music and discovering the joy of live. We were influenced by Four Weddings and a Funeral. We were inspired by various kind of modernist love stories and the traditional Broadway musical. So Rahman and I would jam, and each tune would take a month or so to get done, because it wasn't like you talk about it and then say, okay, let's go off somewhere. So we would go to a forest in Tekadi and sit and create a jam. We'd go to Cochin, and, So those days you didn't recreate the tune completely in the studio. You would just go off somewhere and spend 2 or 3 days roaming around. And then you would jam together, and he would sit and work for some time, then sleep and sing. Then in the evening you would listen to the musical ideas, and if something catches you, then he would work further. And sometimes he'll say, no, okay, let's sack all this, let's try again next day. So it was like 2 or 3 days of jamming, and then you start working with the lyrics, and then, it'll take probably a month to finish a song. That kind of time and space you added, and he would do everything. He would play the background score, he would play the bass guitar, he would play this, he would play that, and then record the thing, and with Sridhar he would mix it, and it was like Sridhar, Rahman, and that was his musical sounding board, so it was really, really fantastic doing those tracks.
Mr. Menon, before we started this interview, we had a chat, and you mentioned that Mr. Rahman allows a tune to happen, and that irritates songwriters. How and why?
Absolutely, because what was happening in commercial cinema before is that you went to a kind of a hotel, and people, the lyric writer sat and the music director sat, and there was a jam, and the tune was finished in half a day. Or tune was finished in 2 hours, and then let's do the next tune. So in like one session they would do 6 tunes. So in some ways it's very difficult for that tune to be completely different from what is happening. There is a template in the tune and you're following it. Rahman said, why should I do that? So first thing he did is he stopped jamming with the lyric writer, and he said, I'll make the tune, and then I'll give it to you, you write the lyrics, and we'll rephrase it after that. So this used to irritate the lyric writers no end. But what he was doing is he was first trying to make a groove with the rhythm and bass and the thing, and then once he got a groove which he found that was different, he was listening to it and just letting some thoughts happen. And then it works, okay. Then try a next groove and let some thoughts flow, works, not there. So a typical composing session of Rahman will have something like 8 grooves. He'll say, okay, if you find anything interesting, you say it. So if you say that you find this interesting, then he would edit it and structure a tune and then add some fillers. And that's what would go to the lyric writer. So everybody was waiting for this cassette to come. It can be frustrating sometimes for lyric writers, and for lyric writers with great egos who were like saying that, listen, we have to do it together. Rahman wasn't doing it together because he says, why should I do that? I'm just letting the tune happen. It may happen today, it may happen tomorrow, it may happen day after tomorrow. I don't want the senior person to come and scream and shout at me, So I want to be under pressure. I want it to be the best possible thing that we could come up with. And I think that letting things happen and not let's finish it in 2 hours, because after all, films do survive for some time, but the music outlives that. It becomes part of the cultural zeitgeist of our time. And I think you need to give a lot more importance to the way music is created rather than seeing it as a functional tool in a film. And he was able to make his songs survive beyond his films, beyond the tenure of the film or the relevance of that story.
Prabhu Deva, India's response to Michael Jackson. World press called him boneless dancer from India. Minsara Kanavu pulled him out of his comfort zone.
We had 3 composers working on that film, choreographers. We had Saroj Khan, we had Farah Khan, and because, I didn't want all the songs to look like what Prabhu Deva were doing in this. But Prabhu is like Rahman, is a instinctive choreographer. This particular song, since that visual of the bridge and these 2 people meeting, and we had created this set, we were in some ways inspired by American in Paris of Gene Kelly. Watching that. So there were moments where, you have this kind of fluidity of Gene Kelly. And there was a very distinct Middle Eastern kind of a rhythm and a bulbul tara kind of a, instrument backing it. So it was having this staccato kind of ting ta da ting ta da ting ta da ting tong ta dun tong ta tong ta da tong tong tan 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 tong 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 tong. So the rhythm was actually coming in, which was like a Arabic kind of a song, and the tune was in Dharmavati Rag. So it was ta ra ra ri ra 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 ri ra ri ra ra ri. It was, when I heard it the first time, I said, wow, this tune is so good. It's like brilliant. He had done some 3 or 4 bits, and so we immediately decided to use one of those bits for the BGM, and the song was locked. It was completely finished in the first composing session. I think it was in Malabar, Taj Malabar, that we had composed that song. And then it was about, when we were recording, it was how can you hit that higher ta ra 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 dee da 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 dee da, to how to get to that note. So the ladies couldn't reach that, so they sang 1 octave lower. And Hariharan really managed to reach that highest point, and the song just explodes in that thing. And there was also the point where he's declaring his love. So the male singing at that high pitch really worked. And we stopped the song halfway in between, and it restarts, and the audience goes berserk in the theatre when that happens.
I believe the song Strawberry wasn't there. It was just a longish music piece, but it turned out to be so good that you decided to go for a complete song.
So what we thought is that, normally, there's a guy and a girl will meet, and when a guy and a girl meet, they'll say, okay, wow, this girl is so beautiful. But he's a hairstylist, so he's going to say that her hair is not nice. So that's what a hairstylist will say, your hairstyle should be correct. But that will be so obvious. But so we have Kajol, and what if she tells that her nose is so big? Then she says, what if she says that, your hair is like spring moody? It's like 2 people abusing each other when they first meet. And then what will happen? Now, the hero-heroine are meeting and they are abusing each other. But they are abusing each other not with words, but musically. It's a fight, a musical fight. So the ram parara ram parara ram parara ram, the tam parara ram parara ram parara ram These are all things that you hear in Walt Disney kind of, fights between Tom and Jerry and all that kind of thing. So we were taking elements from that and using it into this. And then there was this big signature singing. So this is like completely different inspirations that we were drawing from.
The film won 4 national awards. Prabhu Deva for choreography, S.P. Balasubramaniam and K.S. Chithra as best playback singers, and AR Rahman for music. The film was simultaneously made in Hindi as Sapnay. In 1997, a whopping amount of ₹2 crore was paid by HMV, now known as Saregama, to acquire rights to the Hindi soundtrack.
The entire film's budget, I think, at that time was like 6.5-7 crores or whatever it is, and it was a huge price. And one of the things we had to do is that we knew we were going to make a Hindi version, and I didn't want a dubbing thing, so I wanted Javed Sahib to come and write the lyrics. So we, recorded both tracks, and we would shoot the film lip sync in both languages, so that the songs actually sounded better. Not that their lips is moving something and some other words is being put there. And I felt that was very important. Musically, the film was really important. The film did much better in Tamil than it did in Hindi. But for Saregama, it was a very important film. And of course, Rahman went on to win the National Award and 4 other national awards for the film. And it was kind of a cult classic. It ran for some 175 days in Chennai. And, it was... and Ooh La La La, the song, was used in Bombay Dreams and things like that. So it had a kind of a... what can I say? A kind of a boisterous happiness. We were now looking for musical depth and stronger melodies in Kandukondain. So every time you look for something new.
Kandukondain was based on Sense and Sensibility, a novel by iconic English author Jane Austen, to talk about its music by Rahman. In our next episode, Rajiv Menon will be back. Stay with us.
What was happening in commercial cinema before is that you went to a kind of a hotel, and people, the lyric writer sat and the music director sat, and there was a jam, and the tune was finished in half a day, or tune was finished in 2 hours, and then bum, let's do the next tune. So in like one session they would do 6 tunes. So in some ways it's very difficult for that tune to be completely different from what is happening. There is a template in the tune and you're following it. Rahman said, why should I do that?
Do you agree that this indeed was the moment of the day? Is your choice different? Whatever your mind says, write it in the comments section below. We will be waiting. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon, and stay entertained.